This episode is brought to you by INSIO Mental Performance. Sometimes you need a little more support than your regular Jiu Jitsu classes to get things on track and moving towards clarity and success. For the past couple of months, I've immersed myself in pushing my boundaries and becoming rock solid with my values, and they're not what I thought they were. With the guidance of Graham at INSIO Mental Performance, I focused my mindset towards positive achievement and progress. This process has taken a great deal of work on my side, and I was ready. When you're ready, reach out to Graham and book your first session to get the gold you want in your life. He's put together a free mental skills for BJJ guide, which you can download over on insio.biz/BJJ. If you want to hear and see more content like this, subscribe and follow. You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, considering getting on the mats, or maybe you're fighting germs. I'm so happy you're here listening or watching this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you want to help people defend themselves, start training jiu-jitsu. I'd like to welcome Jack and Eddie to my podcast. Hi guys, how you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Jack, let's just hear from you what rank you are and where you train at the moment.
Sure. Recently got my brown belt actually a couple of weeks back, and I train at Gracie Barra in Harrogate.
Fantastic. And Eddie, we've met in person at the British Open back in May, I believe. Thank you for coming to catch up with me. It was great to meet you and have a bit of a chat. But tell the listeners and people watching who you are.
So I'm Eddie. I'm a struggling jiu-jitsu athlete. Practitioner is maybe the word. But yeah, I've been training for about 2 years. Over 2 years now. 4-stripe white belt. Yeah, do competitions. I kind of that's where my relationship with the sport.
Nice. Well, thank you, gentlemen, because you are founders of Combat Sports Hygiene,
Yes.
which most of us will have heard of by now. But give us a brief overview into what Combat Sports Hygiene is.
So the idea behind it was to kind of enable gym owners and academy owners and anyone within kind of combat sports or contact sports really that's at risk of skin infections to kind of get some credible and easy to digest information around skin infections that can be distributed to their members and their teams. Coupled with, a new step of kind of like mat side hygiene and kind of bringing around a little bit of a change to most processes within gyms and competitions, really. And so it kind of started after, I got staph in the back of my hand within probably, it would have been 2-3 months of training. And it was, I just didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how serious it was until kind of the doctor said, don't share towels, have you got a child, don't have a bath with your child, this stuff. And it was just, oh my God, why am I doing jiu-jitsu again? Everyone told me it'd be good for my joints for one. And then it's just all these things.
Eddie, before we started recording, you mentioned about nursery, so I'm assuming you do have a child.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to mention them, but as a parent, kids get all sorts of things. They come back from nursery or school, and they come home with colds. They come home with all sorts of other things. All the kind of childhood infections and things that are fairly low grade, but you still have to deal with them as a parent.
Yes.
Now, for you, having staph, what did you notice? How did you know? What happened?
So I kind of came in on a Friday night, had some kind of rounds, and I got my hand underneath the chin of someone, and I kind of felt weirdly it was almost just like a prick in my hand. I thought that's strange. And then whether it was friction or whatever from a beard, from a patchy beard or something, I don't know, because he had a bit of facial hair. And then I think it was on the Saturday night, I was kind of like, it was like I'd had a really itchy insect bite. And I don't know what that is. And then it's kind of turned a little bit red. And so then I did think, oh, it's an insect bite, that's fine. And then kind of by Sunday evening, it just turned into a little bit of a crater.
Wow.
With obviously the white bit in the middle. Monday, it kind of, expanded into a bigger crater, and just, it was just very, very obvious that this thing was kind of eating my flesh, is how I kind of want to describe it. It never got particularly far but I had to have oral antibiotics, basically. I think you sent a post to the coaches group for me, and they were like, "Yeah, no, that's definitely staph. Don't come in."
Okay, so how did it feel to know that you had a skin infection in the first instance?
I didn't mind. I think because we've got the podcast, which we do on the side, which we'll probably get to later. I've always been fairly open, and kind of my relationship with the sport started as a bit of like, I'll try anything. I'll try anything. Let's see how far we get. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah. So there wasn't really, I didn't feel any stigma or shame, because it's part and parcel of the sport. That's what people told me. Yeah. And so it was kind of like, well, it just happens. And so I was kind of, well, let's address it, and let's kind of, there shouldn't be stigma and there shouldn't be shame. It was just kind of a rank thing I kind of had to deal with, but was happy to talk to people about, really.
Good. I think, it's really helpful mentioning that there shouldn't be any stigma and shame. It just is a kind of consequence of the sport. And I think the more that we can kind of normalize the conversation, have awareness about what's going on with our bodies, any changes. Now, do you think, I don't know much about staph. Can you just expand on the full name, and how quickly does it really establish itself? Is it literally 24 hours, or are we kind of talking about a longer, prolonged period of time to be infected?
So Staphylococcus aureus, I think, is the full name for it. We need our Dr. Soccer on it. We use our medical stuff. So infection, I mean, generally it will enter through, an open wound or mat burn, or even a really sweaty pore. I believe it can technically enter your skin from. Yeah. Most people, they have staph bacteria on their skin already, so it exists on your skin. Yeah. I think a lot of people, it's in their nose as well, weirdly, but it's when it's other people's, it kind of can cause this infection, essentially. Yeah. And so that's kind of why the big thing that we want to raise awareness of, and provide a bit of a treatment for as well, is sort of the mat side. Oh, I've got a little bit of a scratch from a nail, or something that's not particularly bad, but just needs instantly cleaning. Because I think it's about 15 minutes or something like that from the time you get something open, that obviously it can just get grimy and infected.
Wow. So that's pretty quick. So dealing with some of these things literally in the moment, whilst you're training, before you go home and get in your car or get on the bus and go home, it's ideal to deal with these things.
Yeah. I mean, that's the idea. I think, a lot of people, they'll come straight to a class from work, or they'll come straight to lunchtime class from work, and it's totally fine. You've got to get your training in, because it's your mental health, it's your fitness, it's so important. So if you're kind of getting your training in and you can't do the proper routine, which would be shower before and shower after, and it's hard. Like it's almost impossible for most average people to be able to do that. Yeah. And so that's kind of why we founded, essentially, Combat Sports Hygiene, was the necessity for some form of mat side product, as well as the education, obviously. And kind of for us, it doesn't really matter what people use as much as they've got something in their bag. They're aware that toweling down even after a big sweaty class helps remove a lot of debris, helps remove a lot of nasty stuff as well. And just integrating that, even with kind of baby wipes or anything. I think it's kind of important, basically.
It's that first line of defense. I think sometimes people think it might replace a shower or whatever, but it's not that it replaces that as such. It's just an extra, that, like Eddie said, that 15-minute period. You get something on straight away, or you got a nick, get that on straight away. You might have to clean the mats after class. You might have to have a 10-minute drive home, whatever that might be. And then you've got that cover in that time frame.
Absolutely. Since you kindly sent me some product, it's in my car, it's in my kit bag. Before I go onto the mats, now I'm not always meticulous about this, but I will spray before I go to training, and I will spray as soon as I leave the training mats. Me and my kids, we are covered in it, and that's fine. Actually, I feel it gives me a peace of mind. I don't know what it technically does, and we can talk about that in a minute. But for me, it's knowing that most of us have like a half an hour, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour drive to class and from class because we're that dedicated. That's just normal. Or we don't have jiu-jitsu gyms close to us, but we want to train. We love it that much. But actually, it's that peace of mind knowing that, from previous experience in life, that things can fester and grow and multiply. I don't know. I don't want to exaggerate and say in minutes, but within this 15-minute time frame, it feels like actually that's when you need to be dealing with removing any debris, any kind of sweat, and kind of protecting yourself a bit more so that you can keep training for longer, because ultimately that's what we want to do.
Yeah. I think you kind of totally right. I mean, if someone came up to you in the street, or you were walking down the street and a runner came past and, grabbed hold of you and started rubbing themselves all over you, would you go and clean? Would you clean it immediately?
Yes.
You would. You wouldn't think, oh, it's all right. I'll just drive home.
I'll look for another stranger.
yeah. I'll look for another stranger and rub myself on them after.
Was it sharing is caring? It's clearly not caring.
Exactly. I think just having that mat side hygiene, like you said as well, for kind of spraying it for a bit of not confidence, but just to
reassurance.
And we've got a few people in our gym who it's they like to see people using it, even because it just means that in terms of the team and who you're rolling with, you've seen that there's a little extra barrier applied, and it's not 100% because nothing is, because rounds themselves can be 15 minutes, so you can't apply it constantly through your session, but it will make a big difference. And with things like ringworm, they maybe need a little bit longer to fester on the skin, but again, just immediately removing them and immediately kind of attacking them and getting on the attack with that sort of fungal infection is a very good way to deal with it.
And to your point, consequences for it takes 10 seconds to spray before and after class. Potentially mistraining, potentially you're going to be really ill if it gets really bad without fear-mongering. So there is, consequences for your training, consequences for your health, consequences for many different aspects for what's quite a simple process to add in.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Eddie, you mentioned the word attacking. You also mentioned earlier that you're always up for competition. Talk to me about your competition history, please.
So it started off really well. I was, I lost it recently, but I was the champion of the Merseyside Open. It's gold medal in the under 91.5 kilo Masters 1. Nice. I didn't go and defend my title this year. I had a lot of other stuff on, and so that started off really well. And then that was the only gold medal I've won, I think, and I've done 6 other competitions since then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always been a mixed bag, but I've had issues with the sign-up process for two of them. One, I got moved up. I think it was the British Open where I got moved up a weight class.
Yeah.
And it was our first stall for CSH. So we'd obviously got there at 6 a.m. after driving down, spoken to people all day, and then my fight wasn't till 4:20 in the afternoon. And obviously I'd been moved up. And it was a disaster, wasn't it? I think it's the only
wasn't that bad.
I just ended up in this guy's guard, and I was just, I can't think what I need to do here. I didn't have ringworms. That was a win.
That was a bonus.
Yeah. So that's kind of been my history. It's fun. I love throwing my hat into the ring. I absolutely love it. And I'll be doing some no-gi comps soon because I've not really done much of that. So
fantastic. Will we be seeing you at the British Open no-gi in December?
No, I can't remember where we are or what's going on, but I'm unable to do that. I think it'll probably be January will be my next competitive event.
Well, we will be cheering you on in January. Jack, you're a brown belt. Talk to me about your progress, because obviously Eddie sat next to you as a white belt. Lots and lots to say, but let's hear from you.
So I think I started about 8 years ago-ish. And I think me and Eddie kind of have a likeness in that we both weren't very coordinated when we first started off, and left and right and all the kind of basics of jiu-jitsu were, I found, really challenging at that time. So it definitely wasn't a natural, but I just got really obsessed with it for some reason. And then, so I was like 3.5 years at white belt and a couple in the middle. And then once blue belt hit, I actually ended up starting to work for the gym.
Okay.
So the gym had lost a lot of members, and I got to about 100 members coming out of COVID. They kind of hardcore that stayed on. So I went to them, working the desk and helped signing people up, and then started kind of assistant coaching. So it was at that point in my journey starting to get a bit more technical and less scrappy. Still a bit scrappy, but tried to focus more on the technique, and kind of just got totally obsessed at blue belt and was like drilling all the time and coaching and training. And then obviously kind of over time, I guess my relationships changed. I now have a young daughter, and I don't train that much anymore. My body has a few aches and pains, but still really enjoy it and still try to compete relatively regularly at the minute.
Good. Well, next time we're both at an event, I will come and say hi to you, Jack, because I wasn't able to kind of come down and chat with you at the British Open. I think I was focusing on my matches kind of upcoming. It was a great day.
For sure.
Were you a kind of purple belt, or were you already a brown belt? No, you might have been a purple belt when Eddie joined the club.
I think it was
a purple.
Yeah, you were purple.
Purple. Yeah.
Did you happen to take Eddie under your wing and kind of adopt him as your white belt adoptee?
A little bit, yeah. I'm not really sure. I think I probably set Eddie up for a bit of a fall, because I think I remember him saying when he called in initially, he was kind of like, "Is this going to be good for my joints?" And I was, of course, very like, "We need to get this guy in." So yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fine. I'm perfectly healthy. So we kind of started off on that fronting, and then I guess Eddie started to do some one-to-one sessions with me. So so we started like kind of, he would come to my classes, and then we do one-to-one sessions, and then he kind of got me involved in various different other activities via we started the podcast, Wash Your Gi. So I felt like I was bringing him one way of jiu-jitsu, and he was bringing me into all these other things at the same time. So that was kind of cool.
Nice. That was payback for signing him up and saying that he wouldn't have any issue with his joints. I
think so. Yeah, I think that was the real reason.
Yeah. No, that's it.
Okay. Talk to me about Wash Your Gi podcast, because that is another one of the great jiu-jitsu podcasts based here in the UK. Give me a kind of rundown.
Yeah, great.
Come on, we're all in the greats here.
Yeah, that was. I mean, so the idea, there was only going to be 5 episodes. I feel like we've said this a million times on the podcast. It was just 5 episodes. And I was like, it'd be interesting to chart basically the very early stages of getting into jiu-jitsu, because I think you sent me a couple of podcasts, Grappler's Perspective, who I've listened to kind of quite a lot since. Now I understand. When I listened to them as a white belt, I was like, this is useless. This isn't really about jiu-jitsu in the fact that it's a kind of a technical, easy introduction. And there is some out there, but I struggle to find them. So I just said to Jack, I've had an idea. Let's try and like chart the, first session before you sign up, and kind of do like a sort of a linear set of podcast episodes that just guide someone through sort of jiu-jitsu up to different belts. I think we got to probably like episode 10 and realized, oh God, the wheels are falling off here. Let's get some guests in. And it kind of just went from there, really. The kind of premise is that I still know absolutely nothing anyway. And Jack knows a lot. So I kind of piggyback off him.
But it was good in the sense that, like, because I think kind of similar lines a little bit with the skin infections and things, where people don't talk about some of the certain aspects when you start off jiu-jitsu, and people like from working on the desk and stuff, I had a lot of conversations with people about like, various different things of how hard should I be rolling, how would I be a good training partner, all these kind of things. When should I do my first competition? So we're like, knew there was kind of people didn't know where to maybe ask these questions. I'm sure there's more people out there, and Eddie has a real openness to experience that he mentioned, that he's quite happy to throw himself into the fire and then talk about it, where some people obviously maybe don't want to put themselves out there so much. So I think that was a really cool thing that we were able to do, that people could then kind of learn from his mistakes, if you like.
It's kind of, it's been quite a weird journey in that now I feel like I kind of have something to protect when I compete, which I don't. But because obviously I know more about the community and the sport and stuff like that, I think on the way to the first competition, we recorded a little bit, and Jack was like, are you nervous? Are you scared? And it was very much like, I don't know. I don't think so. It's all just seems a bit silly to me what we're about to do, and kind of just was all new. So didn't really feel much pressure. And then now, as we've kind of, as it's been 2 years, I've kind of become, very much like, oh God, now I'm scared. Now I'm nervous. Now, now I've got my own expectations and stuff. And I think that's just the normal path for anyone.
Well, that's the things. I think for myself, I put a lot of pressure on myself and self-pressure, and I was totally unnecessary and not really that helpful, probably not helpful at all. But I think it's easy to fall in that trap of, especially when you start coaching or doing different things, where you want to live up to the ideals of maybe the coaches that came before you, and you want to put your best foot forward and all those kind of things. But then, it can kind of have a negative impact on your training as well if you put too much pressure on yourself and you don't really just focus on what you're probably there for, which is enjoyment and mental health and all those kind of side of things.
Exactly. I think over my journey, I've learned to, fill some of those gaps, kind of repair some of those kind of mistakes, and I am happy to say failures, because while some of us might go, well, it's not really a failure, it just is. It's like, well, no, I could have done better. I know now how to fix that, and that wasn't right. And now I can make it better. But Eddie, it also sounds like you come up with these harebrained ideas, and you just get on and deal with them.
Yeah, I think kind of it was the sport, I think, and it was the draw of the sport. I mean, it's not something I particularly do in life outside of this, I wouldn't say, but because I knew I loved the sport so much, and because I also knew that I was liable to kind of give up after a year, like I do with like learning guitar or doing other things. Yeah. And so the podcast then became a way for me to stay ingrained sort of within the sport. And it's kept me, it's kept me all the way up to 4-stripe white belt. So without the podcast, I sort of wouldn't be here. And then the spray is just kind of, I've always worked within marketing and branding and bits like that. And it was just kind of, I knew kind of something needed to be done, or not needed to be done, but I knew there was a way to provide, to provide something that will help the sport and help members and all these kind of things. While still, obviously it's a business. So eventually we'll hopefully be able to take money from it and stuff. But as well, it's cool to just, the people we've met and the events we've worked with and all the stuff that we're kind of getting to do is amazing.
We will hear more about the events and all the things that you're doing with Combat Sports Hygiene in just a second. This episode is sponsored by Combat Sports Hygiene. Combat Sports Hygiene is the strongest instant use hygiene spray for contact sports. In contact sports, skin infections and poor hygiene don't hurt. They just steal your mat time. Full Guard is your defensive weapon, keeping your skin clean and fresh as soon as you spray it on. For use before, during rounds, and after you train, for both you and your kit. Go and buy your bundle today over on sportshygiene.com/shop. Backed by research, endorsed by pros. This is the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. Keep checking out the clips as soon as they drop. As soon as I've recorded each episode, they usually get pushed out on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. So do keep track of what is going on. Today, I'm having a conversation with Jack and Eddie from Combat Sports Hygiene. So, Jack and Eddie, when did you kind of found Combat Sports Hygiene?
So I think it was October last year. I went through a very long process with it where we obviously needed to launch with a product. And so initially when I got staff, I got recommended can you just say brands? Is that doable?
I'm not the BBC.
Yeah, okay. So got recommended Defense Soap, which I'm sure is an amazing product in the States. But when you look into the UK version of Defense Soap, it's all natural and it's missing something called tolfenate, I believe, which is like the antifungal element that is it's restricted in the UK and the EU, I believe, but available in the States. And I was like, well, okay, so I can't get Defense Soap over in the UK, so I had to import it in to get the strong version and got a full package and stuff. And then thought, well, why is there nothing that kind of allows for the why is there nothing that can be used straight away? Because I have to drive to the gym and there's kind of 2 showers for 40 people sometimes.
Yep.
So why is there nothing that can be used straight away? And so that's kind of started playing with all these ideas, got a couple of kind of sample formulas made that were more like kind of moisturizing lotions and stuff like that. That had the tolfenate in, because I didn't realize it was that was restricted at this point either. And then eventually kind of came to looking at MRSA and staph.
Yeah.
Obviously the form, so Full Guard itself is hypochlorous acid, which is used by the NHS in surgery. Generally, most forms, if you break the seal on the bottle, you maybe the time's limited on how long it's going to be stable for.
Yep.
And so it was kind of then became, well, there must be a version of this that can be put into kind of sealed spray bottles and used by athletes immediately.
Yeah.
So it kind of went from there. And there was all sorts of there was cauliflower hygiene. There was all sorts of weird and wonderful names before I just thought, actually, let's kind of just stick with something clear and basic.
Nice.
And that is now CSH, that will probably become sports hygiene in the future, maybe, as we slowly pivot into other areas and stuff.
So you've really only been around for just over 12 months. And, you've come a long way. I see you at almost every single event and open mat now, and you're still relatively new in the game of things, but you've done an absolutely fantastic job at branding and marketing. Being in the industry myself, you've kind of operated at the speed that I feel most brands should cascade their message. But how easy has that been for you?
It's been, it's been a push, hasn't it? I think it's hard because there's only 2 of us as well, and we sponsor so many events, and we of course would love to go to every event. Like, it would be amazing, but with a wife and a child, it's not always doable, and it's kind of it's hard. it's very much feels like we're kind of in a startup and we're playing a long to medium game. So, as I mentioned candidly before, like we're not taking money out. The bank account's not in particularly great shape because we're just we're investing into shows and athletes and stuff. Whether that's complete suicide, we'll know in probably 6 months. But I hope not, because like I said, it's important for us to be involved and to meet people and to kind of, to be talking to people and been able to go to these events. Like it's just, it's really cool and it's amazing. So that's kind of what
I think you kind of underestimate the impact that you've had. I'm sure most of us listening or watching will have seen your branding, will have seen your presence, maybe not you in person, but seen your products around, used your products even. And actually the growth over this last 12 months in terms of your brand kind of, the people who you've reached so far has been incredible. I'm just going to give you your flowers with that one, gents, because you have done amazingly.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's kind of, again, it's sort of Jack, because as you know, Jack, it kind of comes from the podcast. Jack will mention a name and I'll be, who? Like Jack will mention a gym. Where? What? And it's kind of, it's my I just had no knowledge. And so kind of Jack's really been the one to say, right, this person or that gym and kind of who we work with and strategic partnerships, we'll say.
Eddie's being modest. He's come a long way. I remember at the start where we were talking about which grappler was this, and he said, was it Marcelo Bielsa? But like now, even on the way to the journey to the car, to the submission series in the car, he was talking about. We were asking questions about Adam Wardzinski, and he was talking about his preferred guard of choice, and also like. The difference in Eddie when he started, obviously he was only a couple of months in, so he didn't really know that much about jiu-jitsu, but like where he is now, he's kind of full send on jiu-jitsu, which has been cool to see as well.
Yeah, that is good. I think when any of us get involved from not teaching jiu-jitsu, but supporting the jiu-jitsu community in any way, certainly from my perspective with the podcast, it's been an absolute joy because our knowledge just is facilitated by the community, by social media. We're able to see and hear and understand, different people's journeys and, kind of connect with what's going on out there. Whereas if you're not involved in a brand as such in jiu-jitsu, then you might not have quite the exposure that your podcast, the Combat Sports Hygiene or Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast has even.
Yeah. But like I said, for me, it's kind of it's kept me in it, which I think has been the massive, massively important personal benefit of it all, because it's kind of.
But would you really have left, Eddie? Would you really have left your gym and given up training jiu-jitsu? Honestly,
I think my track record and the traffic going into Harrogate, but yeah, it was. I mean, I had a back injury the December after just getting into it. Obviously, the time of staff. Tragically, my best friend died as well. And so that period was 2 or 3 months where it was like, where I wasn't the best person I could have been, which is normal. But I think Jack, there was just a Tuesday when I'd normally come in for a PT, and Jack and Grant, who also trains at the gym, would kind of just come in, like there's no charge, just come in and have some rounds. And so I did, barely said a word. We just scrapped for a while and felt a little bit better. I didn't make it to kind of public classes because it was still just like a shrouded brain. But I kind of limped through just enough because of him. We need to do this on the podcast. We need to speak to this random person who you've never heard of and it just kept me in. It kept me in because there was no way I could say no. Because it was my own podcast. It was my own problem. No. he was forced into it. And so that kind of, that was the point where I would have probably quit.
Yeah. That does sound a lot to deal with, but it also feels like jiu-jitsu, I'm sure for many of us, it's kind of allowed our growth in resilience. But having a buddy like Jack, or like any of us, we've all got gym buddies that we kind of know, we want to roll with. We know they're a safe role. We know that they can help us learn and develop. And I think without those people and without the community, none of us would still be here. But it's such a joyful thing that we're all looking out for each other and just want the best for everyone.
Yeah. And to Eddie's point as well, I think like jiu-jitsu can be like, it's hard when life throws really difficult things at you, and sometimes your hobbies or the things your kind of your free time, if you like, are the first things you discard. But I think if you can find a way to get in for those activities, it can actually be like a really important anchor for people in those difficult moments that can, help you expend some energy, get a bit of headspace, and then kind of, deal with things a little bit easier.
Yeah, agreed. Now we're recording this kind of the middle of September, and you've just come back from Young Subs. Talk to me about going to that event.
So we weren't actually at Young Subs ourselves. We had one of our guys, Dean, did the stand with his son, which was great for him to do that during the day. That's a cracking event. They had over 120 athletes competing. It actually ran over. They started at 9 a.m. I don't know how the staff do it, because I think they get there like 8 o'clock. And then that ran over like past 8 o'clock. And then they had over 60 adult athletes. And we didn't finish up till after 12 o'clock. So they were there from 8 o'clock in the morning till post 12 o'clock at night, which is incredible commitment from everyone involved with that event. But we only got there at maybe 6:30 for the adult submission series. But that was an amazing event. It was really, really good.
So I'm not, I'm in the southern part of England. You're in the northern part of England. Talk to me about Young Subs. What's the kind of adult thing called?
So just submission series is the overall event
series. Thank you.
And Young Subs is just for the youth athletes. I think maybe up to 14, 15. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, they're doing an amazing job. They seem to be growing and trying to expand. So they might be down to, is it Watford you're based in? They might be down to Watford soon.
But I'm in Bath. I was making a joke about Watford.
There you go. So they may get down there eventually. But they're slowly. They started off to more of a based in the north, in Newcastle and Sunderland. I think were the first couple of ones we went to. And we've been to Liverpool and Manchester since, so slowly.
Fantastic.
How
important is it for you to have ambassadors like Dean at the events?
So Dean's a white belt as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So it's quite a strange relationship, all of this now. You've highlighted, Lou. Dean's Jack's strength coach, who Jack convinced to do jiu-jitsu, who's he's Southern actually, isn't he?
Yeah, he is actually.
There we go. We've kind of been going on about the North-South divide throughout this. So Dean kind of is a strength coach who works for us. But we have a lot of younger athletes who are kind of the brand ambassadors. For me, we're hoping to be in a place where we can kind of work with certain charities within the UK, because I think that's an important thing for me personally to do. And I think it's important for any brand to do. I think, because it just gives them, they should. If you're kind of profiting, some of that money should go to supporting the audience that you're marketing towards, who may not be able. So I think the ambassador program allows us to do that, and has allowed us to do it really early on, just with kind of product. And so kind of it's generally been you working with the athletes and the younger ambassadors.
We do get a lot of inquiries in about sponsorships from people at various different levels, and like I say, it's unsustainable to sponsor absolutely everybody. But through the ambassador program, it kind of caps what we can give people, but also gives people an opportunity to be able to get involved kind of at a base level. And then obviously then we have that kind of relationship building through those athletes. And if it's the case that they're able to grow the brand in the ways that they do, then that could lead to kind of a full sponsorship later on and different things. But it's even we were at Empire in Barnsley in South Yorkshire last week, and we had one of the ambassadors that came up, and he like came up to the stand. He got some photos. He asked, could he get some flyers off us to deliver to the people? I think it was amazing to see he's only 10, but to see his initiative. He was with his dad, and they were just like really proud that they were part of it, and really aligned with our mission and the goals of our company. So it's just really cool to engage people like that, be able to offer them something, and just see where it goes from there.
Nice. You mentioned mission of your company. I'm not wishing to put you on the spot, but I am putting you on the spot. What is your overall mission for Combat Sports Hygiene?
Oh, Christ! Someone asked me this on a call recently, and I made something up, and it sounded all right.
It did sound
I've forgotten what I've done, but basically we want to make the sport safer, and we want to grow the sport through making it cleaner. Essentially, it was phrased in a much nicer way, and I think it's written down somewhere. But that's effectively it. Like, we just want to provide education and products that make the sport safer and cleaner, and
keep
then
people on the mats.
By proxy, keep people training, keep it growing.
Absolutely. We thank you for answering that and not shying away from it. I'll leave you to go and develop your mission. But your brand is exceptional. The red and white branding, I'm sure all of you have seen the branding by now, but just kind of coming back to the brand ambassador, if anyone, I guess, buys your product, what do you want them to do in terms of social kind of share? Is there anything the rest of us can help you build your brand?
Yeah, like, I don't think it needs to be too crazy. It's just, the pictures of the product when they're training, just any sort of like social interaction featuring our product, or even good hygiene practices, or potentially calling out some bad hygiene practices, things like that. Just anything that kind of promotes good hygiene in the sport. Obviously, we're kind of active competitors ourselves. We love to see people competing and that kind of thing, but that's not essential. I just think anything that kind of shows the product, shows those kind of things that we ascribe to, that Eddie mentioned in the mission, kind of in practice, that helps us continue to put content out there that's not all kind of through us,
Yeah, no, it's good. And you also mentioned about educating Jiu-Jitsu practitioners and maybe kind of further afield as well. But is there anything you can kind of direct us to so that we can understand what some of these skin infections look like? I know your socials are kind of full of them, and sometimes they can be a bit icky, but apart from kind of, having good hygiene ourselves, using your product, getting the shower, how can we kind of identify what these skin infections look like and help ourselves, help other people to help themselves, ideally?
Yeah. I mean, for us, we've got, so there's kind of the big 5 skin infections. We've got information on those on the website, that were pages written by the dermatologist we work with. So they're kind of good resources in terms of information. I think there's links to the NHS disease. There's a lot of resources if you kind of type in skin infection identification on Google. We don't want to be the guys that have tons of pictures on our website and stuff like that. I think there's amazing resources that come from government organisations that should be trusted, and it saves us kind of going around taking photos of skin infections and stuff. But people have sent us photos. Like gnarly's the word I think we'll use. Gnarly photos to go alongside just their own little story. I say little stories. Some of them are life and death. So we have got photos, but we don't want them on the website really. 'Cause I think you need that. It's the hard thing, especially for gym owners.
Yeah,
people need to know what they are, and they need to know how to identify them. They don't need to see what 2 months of ringworm growth looks like on someone's arse. They don't need to see what staph when it's nearly at the bone and having to get dug out in surgery looks like, which we've seen what that looks like. So I think using kind of online resources is kind of the best way. We obviously have pages that kind of provide more information on the infections and stuff like that. But I think the big thing that you can do, and I think this is so important that that you do this, is you talk to a coach, you talk to your gym owner, because at the end of the day, they need to be the ones to see it, to say, look, don't train. I think it might be that. Go see a doctor. And obviously they're obviously not a doctor, but kind of in the context of the sport, they're a good intermediary, because doctors aren't always the easiest people to access. And it can take time before you can get some medical advice. So we'd always recommend medical advice. But I think the first thing you do if you suspect something is talk to a coach or a gym owner, because they will have experienced it probably multiple times. And it's just fine. Just don't come into training, as difficult as that is as well. I think that's kind of the main thing. We're hopefully in kind of talks with a company to be able to provide a service where, people can book appointments to get things identified and stuff like that as well.
Nice.
Because we want to just make everything as easy as possible for gyms and for athletes, and just try and hammer down the problem as much as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice do you have for gym owners specifically?
I feel like they all kind of know what they're doing pretty much. It's just just the educational element might be difficult. So I think kind of, I think educating members post sign up is important, because it's obviously they need to sell a service. They need to sell the membership effectively to the new members to get all the white belts into the meat grinder, and they don't want to scare them off. But I think post that, I think a gentle nudge about hygiene practices, which most gyms do, and then maybe a little bit further down the line, they can start to kind of introduce material, which again we provide. I don't want to sit here sounding like I'm just plugging everything that sort of we do. But I think if you can give members just a little bit of material with like a little, PG rated photo of ringworm, or a little staph bump, so that there is a little bit of a visual element in there, then it can be massively beneficial. Because I think a lot of gyms' problems maybe do occur with newer guys, don't know what's going on, don't know what's going on for 6 months, and then start to bring stuff in. And I think the best way for managing the problem for gyms is to educate members as soon as but within the first few stripes of their journey. Yeah, definitely.
Good.
It's open for conversation, takes the stigma away as well somewhat. If people it's not a hidden thing that you find out about when you're 2-stripe blue belt and what's the thing on my arm.
Yes, exactly. And obviously, covering up any kind of nicks, and obviously it's keeping our nails short, toes and fingers, so that any of those scratches and things don't happen. I often feel like some of the basics and the etiquette around jiu-jitsu health and well-being sometimes is kind of skipped, because there's an assumption that people just know. But, chat to your coach, find out what you need to do, but it's keeping your nails short, having a shower ideally before you train, having a shower immediately after, and obviously getting hold of some Combat Sports Hygiene.
Yeah.
Love it. Jack, I noticed that you kind of brought Eddie into play, and you've got Dean, who's your strength and conditioning coach. Dare I ask who's next in your, kind of business building monopoly?
Sorry, say that again, Lou. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
You've brought Eddie in, and you've got Dean, your strength and conditioning coach. Is there anyone else who might be on your hit list?
I don't think we've got any ideas to bring anybody else in. too soon. I guess it depends on the growth of the business, I suppose.
That's fine. I was only pulling your leg, Jack.
Fair enough.
I just sensed a connection with people that you know, and obviously we all connect with different people, and when we find out what they do outside of jiu-jitsu, it can be really helpful to grow our businesses, kind of share contacts, and almost engage them. If there's other services that they provide, then it's a big old network of on the map business networking, shall we say?
Yeah, 100%.
I think it is sweaty LinkedIn, basically.
There you go. There's your next venture, Eddie. I knew there was something else coming up. Guys, how can people follow your journey if they are not already?
So we've got so we're only on Instagram at the minute. Need to figure out TikTok and the other things, but Instagram is just combat_sports_hygiene. And then there's the website sportshygiene.com. And then the podcast
Wash Your Gi,
which I think you should just type in Wash Your Gi and it kind of should be there.
We are going to have a YouTube channel coming up with so at the submission series event that we were just at, we're doing a little documentary, hopefully like a documentary spotlight series with some of the hygiene partners that we work with and some of the events that we work with, just to highlight kind of the work they're doing. So we just shot the first one on Saturday, so a bit of a time to kind of get that together, but that'll hopefully be the first video that goes out on the YouTube in coming weeks.
Amazing. I feel like us podcasters in the jiu-jitsu world may need to get together soon for a bit of a big old podcast fest or something. We can make something happen. But I want to thank you both for supporting also the 100th episode of the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. I really appreciate that, and hope to connect with you again in the future.
Yeah, thank you for having us on, Lou.
Thanks so much, Lou.
You're very welcome. Thank you for watching and listening this episode. If you've got this far, it's great. I used to have a script for this part, and if you really have got this far, please let me know who you'd like to see and hear on the next episode of the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I will catch you again next time.